Hello, 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 and welcome. Hope you're all doing well. We're streaming live across YouTube, our brand new Twitch channel, and also on Instagram. I've finally found out how to do Instagram and make it look good. It's good, isn't it? How you all doing? Yes, I am doing my radio DJ thing. It's Friday night. It's NYT. We continue. Had to do me Pete Tong impression there, sorry. Like I say, all you people out there, hope you're doing well. It's been a hell of a week. I've been back in the UK. I'm actually back in my home studio in Liverpool, which has been lovely. The weather's been fantastic all week. And yeah, we're going to break this wonderful, wonderful track down, even if I do say so myself, that has turned into something of a bomb. So I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, if you don't know, Ethereal Pulse, track I did with Brent Lawson on Probitech, came out last week, and it's been doing amazing on Spotify. It's been doing amazing on Beatport. And of course, we had an amazing remix on that package from none other than El Maestro himself, Hernan Cattaneo. Massive thanks to him and Mercurio for such an incredible remix. And just thanks to Hernan for such an amazing support over the last year while I've been plying my trade in Argentina and Buenos Aires, and playing a lot of my music and just being an amazing support. So thank you to Hernan for that. And yeah, we're gonna get into it right now. So here comes the drop. So, how did all this come about then? As you can see, as you can hear, I'm just going to get the screen share right for the YouTubers. Hold on for 1 second. Hey, there we go. There we go. Let me just get everything going. You're seeing behind the scenes here. Let's just go to live. Beautiful. Right, okay. And then I'm going to get my camera up. This live television stuff's stressful. Like, really stressful. So, bear with me. Here I am. I'm back. Okay. So, how did we do here? As we say hi to Craig Mars, we say hello to Robin Thurston, we say hello to Musk on YouTube, hello to Pinkowitz Music, Carlos Contra, Loud and Clear Sound, Badermeister, Ian Mannion, Dmitry Malikov, Mark Rush, what's up mate? Over on Instagram, NYT's own Jeff Keenan. Hello Emma, Minxie Magic. Great to have so many on board. Sasha, Renee, Inga, all good. Right, so how did all this come about? Okay, so Brent came to me with an idea for a track, and he had some sort of basic ideas, and basically me and him collaborated on it. It's something that we've done a lot over the years. I've been a mentor to Brent. Brent's been an amazing supporter of my music as well. Lots of releases on Probitech over the years if you want to check those out on the back catalogue. And basically, we decided to make this track. We weren't really thinking about anything incredible. We just wanted to make a track together to get Brent's skills up to scratch. And we didn't know it was going to turn out this way. We played around with ideas around this, believe it or not, for a couple of years. And it was a bit of a crazy thing, that the final product came out like this, and we sent it out to a few select DJs, and Hernan heard it, and Hernan actually, wanted to remix it, and he decided that he was going to do it with Mercurio, and the rest is history, So basically where this is concerned, you're looking at the Ableton session now, and, it's You know, not a too complicated track. It's very straight to the point. It's a good, solid, progressive production. And, you know, we're going to break it down one step at a time. And really where, like, the idea came from, you know, was just the very basic MIDI that we've got here. If I just play this from the beginning here, you'll be able to see this in the bottom. Just this very simple, lovely sort of cascading, groovy kind of, you know, if I put the metronome on there for a second, it's just got a nice little movement to it, and then everything kind of came as a result of that. And then really, like, we're going to start in the drums, and actually what really gave the groove was something really, really fascinating here. So as I mentioned, because I've got a Q&A up at the moment over on the Magnetic Magazine Instagram. Go over there and check that out. Thanks to Will and the guys at Magnetic for featuring me as part of the promotion of this release. And we did a great Q&A. It's still up. You can still ask questions in the comment on that post. So I'll answer them over the next couple of days while I'm, you know, perusing Instagram, while I've got a bit of spare time. And one of the things that I was talking about with, I think it was with Pinkovitz actually, who's watching on Instagram, we were talking about how do you create new sound, like how do you know, stand out with your production style. And one of the things I do is use crazy, weird, old reactor ensembles. I've been using Reactor since 2006. And I've got some of the weirdest, wildest, most bizarre reactor ensembles that you can think of that almost nobody's heard of. You know, I've got everything from weird little glitchy generators all the way through to like VHS tape emulators. And it's just, Reactor to this day is still something that I love and I use every day. So I'm going to open up Reactor here. And basically what you'll see, what we're using is a very, very old element here called New School. Ironically, very old. It could be called Old School now, by now. And it's this weird, random, generative element where basically patterns that you draw in these matrices here actually then create different types of tones. And essentially, if you have a listen, it basically just randomly generates stuff. What you'll actually see in the channel here, there is no MIDI per se, because the whole thing is just randomly generating. So if we just play that from the beginning, turn that metronome off, it's just got this really lovely kind of Kraftwerky sort of strange kind of metallic kind of vibe to it. And it just seemed to work really well with this element here. And that kind of gave me the rhythmical reference for the rest of the record, really. And then the next thing after that really was the bass. So, say for example, just a nice accent bass, a main bass and a stab. So there's three different elements there as we put Reactor back away there. I'll have to go back up to this and then do that. Lovely. And basically from here, we'll be able to go and look at these basses. So again, just a very basic bass, if you know what I mean. Just, you know, single note, nothing crazy, but just this really nice kind of and then add the stab. And again, if any of you have seen any of my output for our lovely friends over at ADSR, hello to Steve and the boys at ADSR, I am an absolutely huge user of Pigment. It's probably my most used synth. And I love this this synth. I absolutely love it. I use it all the time. Like I say, it's I've made preset packs for ADSR for them in the past. I'm constantly making new sounds, and this was, I think, was maybe one of them, or maybe not. It was from another pack. It's got this lovely chunky grinding kind of sound to it. and then add in a real low stab. And the three of them kind of work together in different layers. There's like a higher element with the accent, the stab's more mid-range, and then the low end is keeping the low end grooving all the time. Okay, so very, very cool. And then that's where that rhythm really kicks in, really comes in from. All right, Malik. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. So yeah, again, with our lovely pluck there. And then it was all just about building the rhythm from there. And then we'll get into what's going on with the MIDI later on, because there's some really interesting things going on with that. So from there, it was all about the drums. And of course, you know, when you get to this kind of level, because in progressive music, I always love, in melodic music, I always write the melody first. As a coach of artists, as a teacher, we always, you know, are asked, what comes first, Paul? Do you do the drums first, or do you do the music or the melodies? I always do the melodic stuff first in melodic music. And then later on, the drums can wrap themselves around the melodics, and it's easier to put drums into tune and everything else. So that's basically my approach. And again, I kind of borrow a lot from the work that I've done in film scoring, you know, working with the likes of Junkie XL and Jeff Rona and a number of other people in my other life as a film score composer. And very cool approach, actually, because it just allows for the maximum musicality. So from there, we started on the drums after we got the melodic stuff mostly down. So obviously at this point, I'm a sucker for putting a kick under everything. I absolutely love it. I get to that point and it's like, that's when the rubber really starts hitting the road, shall we say. So again, even if we just reduce it down to the reactor and the kick, I mean, great. I mean, yeah, perfect. That'll do for me. Turn up on my headphones a little bit. And then you've just got just that essential groove, you know? And then adding in that really nice. Nothing too sexy going on, just a really nice kick that I've basically picked up. Don't ask me where, I can't remember, it's a while ago now. I'm always picking up new kicks and things. And from there, it's just about adding that, again, that essential kind of real classic progressive style groove. So we're going to break it down one at a time. I am a big sucker, especially with this type of stuff, that's a bit more housey and a bit more, you know, I don't know, Latin inflected, if you will, because it has got a bit of a South American vibe to it, probably down to the influence of me living in Argentina for the past while. And, you know, I love putting these, those tambourines aren't working properly. They're a little bit too quick. I think it's because, oh, look at that. Our first technical problem of the evening. Right, let me just make sure that's right. That's very strange what's happened there. Hang on a moment. Let me just fix that for everyone, shall we? Anyway, right, well, that's a little bit embarrassing. Let me have a look at the BPM on this. Right. Live 12, moving everything about as per usual. Right, okay. The original BPM, it thinks, is 61 beats a minute, and I don't know why. Hang on a minute. There we go, 122. Let me just fix that. That's going to really annoy me. There we go. That still doesn't sound particularly right, but you get the idea. I'll go back and fix that later. More interesting things to look at, because that's from an old Stylus RMX thing. Oh, there you go. I still hasn't fixed it. Anyway, swiftly moving on from that disaster. It's a good job I'm comfortable with being an idiot in public, like I have done teaching music for how many years. So anyway, more interestingly, we've got more tambourines here, and it's in the shape of Shimmer Shake Strike. So, a little bit of a story with Shimmer Shake Strike. It was actually my good friend Tim Green, hello to Tim, that put me onto this when we did a masterclass with him on NYT back in the pandemic in 2020. And yes, there is an updated version, and you know, I'm a classic one for this. I don't upgrade if I don't need to. So I just stay on version 1 because I love it. So Tim uses it in a lot of his productions over the last few years, and we were obviously using it a little bit when we were in the studio together last week. Yes, that happened. I was in Tim's lovely new studio in London all week, and well, we'll just say you're going to find out what's going to happen there soon with what we did that week. A lot of new music coming, and very, very excited to be working with not only one of the best producers in electronic music as far as I'm concerned, but also a very, very close and personal friend. So basically, Shimmer Shake Strike, we've got a lovely kind of trifecta going on here. And this is what I really love about Shimmer Shake Strike, is that you can have layers of different tambourines like this, and we can have them panned left and right. So you get this lovely kind of mini tambourine in the left, in the right. One that's almost like a kind of a resonance of like a drum skin almost. And that's in the right. Oh, sorry, that's in the center. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the steel tambourine. So if we put the left and the right together, they're different. So if you're into music production and you want to know how to get really nice implied stereo width, don't just take a shaker loop or a tambourine loop like I was looking at before and pan one side of it left and one side of it right, because that makes no difference at all, okay? That basically is just the same as a mono file, because you're putting the same thing in one speaker and the other, and you'd be amazed the amount of people who do that. So the key and the classic trick is to put different complementary sounds panned in the left and in the right, and then maybe even have a third one in the center like this that makes it a really interesting sound, and it makes it sound really wide without you having to do weird processing and stuff like that. It's naturally wide, if you will. So now you've got that across the stereo image, really, really beautiful. And you'll see what I mean, because I'm just going to flip over to my master. We'll talk about the mastering for it. I actually mastered it in Ableton, which is something I don't normally do, but I'll talk about that in a bit. You know, you can see this from here. So if I, again, just and then you'll get all left there, all right for that, and then straight through the middle. You'll get like not quite mono, it's a little bit of stereo, but that's it. So when you've got all three working together, really beautiful. And again, with the reactor, they just sit together really nicely. So yeah. Metric AB, probably my most used plugin outside of Kickstart. You heard it here first. It's all about the utilitarian plugins. So yeah, from here, again, I wanted to, you know, do a bit of, you know, a Latin vibe, you know, and I always call them congas for Hernan. So here's some congas for Hernan. So there you go. So from here, it's just about building the rhythm track. So we'll go track by track. Little closed hi-hat here, which we'll listen to in isolation. And what you can see here in the bottom is it's like it's kind of a longer closed hi-hat, if you will, but it's actually cut off. I've got the nice, you know, sort of ticky, percussive kind of vibe going with that, and then just shaved a lot of the low end off. Gonna put these Shimmer Shake Strikes away. And before we move on from that, you can just see the EQ for those tambourines. And again, the most used plugin I've ever used or will ever use, Nicky Romero Kickstart. And yes, I am still on version 1, and no, I'm probably not upgrading. So yeah, is what it is. But wow, that's my most used plugin for over 10 years, I tell you. I use it on everything. So, got this lovely element going. Those mid congas. And then just using the drum rack with a couple of these lovely other bongo type samples. So I've got, and then another one. Take the hi-hat out. You can just hear how the congas and the bongos kind of interact with each other. There's a little bit of a call and response going on there. And it's these fine details in a progressive house record like this that really makes all the difference, right? So again, I'll just add everything in that we got. And then from there, this is one of my like trusty samples. I love this clap sample. This is actually something I made from scratch myself. And it's actually, it was for an ADSR pack for their incredible drum machine plugin, which I've done some content for if you want to watch that over on the ADSR channels on YouTube, Instagram. Their drum machine plugin, because again, ADSR don't just sell, you know, other people's plugins. They actually develop their own, and they're really smart, really clever plugins, you know, especially on the MIDI side. I love Hexel, I love MIDI Grid, and I especially love Orbit, their Euclidean sequencer. It's just a mind-blowingly good piece of work. So ultimately, you know, this clap was made for drum machine with like various layers from like various drum machines and, you know, other samples that I've developed over the years. I've found myself using it in a lot of tracks recently. And again, because the clap's so good, I just put a little bit of EQ on it and that's it. Nothing too complicated. So, you know, from there we've got another kind of 16th note, and you can just see a little bit of groove I've added onto that. If I just get the right clip there. Here we go. And it's just got a nice little swing on it. There we go. And again, I'm always want to point this out. Not every 16th note is on. You know, I use the groove templates a lot in Ableton, and I actually use the Logic grooves. I'm a big fan of the Logic grooves within Ableton, because they mimic the actual, like, you know, the 16B, the 16C swing, that I've used so much because I still am a long-term Logic user. And, you know, the swing templates within that are great. And I think it's fantastic that for so many years now, we've had Ableton put in the Logic grooves and make them available to us here. So very, very cool. So here we go. So say, for example, we've got that lovely swing, and then just another little, I'm just getting a little tick of like a percussion hat just to give it a little infill, right? And again, details. We'll go to the rides in a sec. So everything feels like it's talking to each other. That's really important, that call and response and that musicality. And again, all the sound sources, samples, etc. are deliberately picked in order to, you know, affect a bit of a musical connection. So everything sounds really cohesive, right? Everything sounds really cohesive. Everything sounds like it's in the same key. Everything feels like it's operating in the same stage, if you will. And everything's pointing and working in the same direction. That is the most important part. So again, we put these synths in. And then the bass. And you can hear things just starting to get a bit floaty with the synths, like the main synth stabs. So we're gonna get there. And again, I have it's really funny because somebody, when I was at a gig with Sasha in Buenos Aires back in, I think, March, he played a great little club called Jet. I tried to get the opening set, didn't get it, but anyway, no axes to grind on that. I just lost an open call competition. But I was talking to a friend of mine, a lovely guy called Walter Gutierrez, who runs Golden Wings Radio in Buenos Aires. Hello to you, Walter. What a lovely guy you are. From one Walter to another, you're a good man. And he was saying, like, I love your tracks, Paul, because they have, like, an element of techno about them. And yes, they do have an element of, like, soulful, kind of like Detroit techno to them. But the drums are very much in that mode. So I'm just a big sucker for big, clangy 909 rides on the 8s. And again, what I love to do is roll them off quite a lot. And again, it's the kickstart to give them that bounce. If I turn that off, they're very, very clangy. And it just gives you that rhythm. So yeah, all good. Hey, Fedi Dragone, how you doing, brother? Back in my other home of Argentina. Lovely. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. So yeah, just to give that techno back, because everything's so housey and so Latin and so groovy and textured. Let's get a bit of an aggression into it. And again, works really well with the reactor. That's the whole point, right? Another little shakery type layer. And my big open hat here is an interesting one. Because, again, this is an open hat that I believe I made for the drum machine pack over on ADSR. Come to Argentina again. I'm coming back soon. Don't worry. Just come back here to do some work for a bit and I'm coming back. Don't worry. Don't worry. I've got a whole life over there. I've got a girlfriend and everything. So, anyway. Open hat 3. So, yeah, this is from my drum machine pack for ADSR. And then I've rolled off and then just done this classic trick where I've just added a bit of vocoder to it. Just to give it a bit more, take some of the body out of it, but adds a bit of brightness. And I was thinking at one stage to add a delay to this. It's very, you can do that to give a bit of stereo width, but decided against it in the final analysis. And again, just another little very shaved off open hat that just gives you that lovely little ticky, almost like shaky kind of loop. Another little gnarly audio shaker loop here, which I've also deployed the vocoder on if I turn that off. It's like a very standard, quite sort of, crinkly, I would say, sounding thing. Just smooths it over a bit. And then more contact, actually. And another vocoder. And this is another shimmer shake strike, if I remember correctly. Hello, Nico Spavieri. Mate, it was such a pleasure to meet you at Sunset Strip a couple of weeks ago and realise who you are while, me, you, and Kevin DeSerna were like having a conversation by the Banyos. It's a crazy thing that happens at Hernan's gigs at Sunset Strip. It brings the best of us together. I met Kevin that night. I met Nico. So many amazing, talented producers there. The EANP guys were there as well. Big ups to those guys. Sasha Renee was there. Four Candles was there. It just brings out the royalty of this style of music, So just such a lovely way to connect with people and to get to know other amazing artists in what is an amazing country. So, Adrian Gumi, hello, my friend. How you doing? God, so many people tonight. Loving it. So, yeah, another shimmer shake strike. And again, it's another great example of what we're talking about. Left, right, center. So one type of shaker here. And if I there you go. Yeah, nothing else playing there. And again, more on the right. Again, if I just take that vocoder off, makes it a bit easier to hear. There we go. Don't think I'm actually playing anything on that middle one there. So just for left and right. Very cool. And then vocoder. And then that's kind of monoed it off a little bit. So one of the things I did is that I add this precision timer line. I'm a big fan of Eventide plugins. Harrell, My good man. Yes, this is being streamed live on YouTube as well at the same time. So look for it on YouTube and you'll be able to see it full screen. No worries, man. No worries. I know it's a bit small on the old Instagram. And enjoy Tim Green tomorrow. So yeah, just delayed one side. Oh, sorry. If I adjust, I've just delayed. Yeah, one side you can see it's the left side here. Just the split on the chain by a couple of milliseconds or a few samples, just to give that. You can just hear it kind of livens it up and makes it a bit more stereo. Ivan Lozano, hello, my friend. Over on Instagram, love it. Great, so many artists. Hello, Chabot. Right. So let's just put the whole thing together. Just grooving. Love it. So there is your essential drum groove. Again, your bass. And like I mentioned before, you could probably start hearing a bit of a deviation in the main pattern for the main synth. So we're going to talk about how that's happening. When you consider that, it's just the same three notes. And again, Ivan, it's also on YouTube, my friends. It's on the NYT YouTube as well, mate, if you want to watch it full screen. So, we haven't just got MIDI going on here, and this is where I get into my MIDI nerdiness. So, I love to do this. I like to add things like randomizers, etc., into the track and into the MIDI in order to try and basically like give something else. So, to take the initial pattern and kind of add some complexity to it. And you'll notice on the corner here on the randomizer, or random as it's called in Ableton, I've got an automation on. So if I pop that on there, you'll see I turn it on at this particular element, okay, at 65. So 30% chance of a randomization occurring. 12 choices, that means you've got an octave of notes to pick from. The mode is completely random. So that means it can pick any random note at any one moment. And the sign, as they call it, is additional, which means it's only going to take notes and move them up. So if it's going to hit on an A, it's going to randomize it to any note on the keyboard between that A and the A above. Okay? And then the interval is 1, which means it's over 1 octave. Now, the randomizer is completely random, so it can pick any note, including notes that are not in the scale that we're working in, which is A minor, okay? So what I do after that is I put a scale plugin on here, and then we put it into the key that we're in, A minor. That means any randomizations are going to get grabbed. Any random MIDI note is going to get grabbed by the scale plugin and pulled either up or down to the nearest degree of the scale. So that randomizer now, with confidence, you know that it's going to be always in key. Very, very useful. And again, I could turn this up to 100% and do something wild. And it'll create something completely wild and different. But if I've got on 30%, it means it's only going to take one note in every 3 potentially and do something with it, which means the initial sort of ostinato motif, to use some film score and talk, is retained, but then you get these lovely little highlights, right? And it can get really interesting as the track progresses, right? So one of the things I really want to show you guys is if I go to the MIDI track below, I actually ran a version off where you can visually see what happens in the record. So once that random kicks in, this is what it's doing throughout the track. Okay, so I could essentially just take this and basically take all of my lovely instruments here and then copy them onto this channel, leave the randomizer away there, and basically this will play exactly what was going on above. So I play that. I've got, you know, some sends to go through. And you just hear the sound really come to life. So it's taken that very, not boring, but very standard kind of pattern and made something way more interesting and musical out of it. Then that means I can sort through it and edit it if necessary, if it's done something that doesn't sound good in the context, and then be able to get to a final composition. So if you are really interested in the randomizations within, you know, MIDI and using that for some what you would call generative composition, this is a great way to start. So Harel has a question. Could you put an automation on the randomization and get a bit of dynamic randomization around your motif? No, I mean, you could actually, yeah, 100%, like I've just covered, you could definitely do that and be able to, you know, get a lot more out of it if you wanted to. And you could even automate the modes to go additional, subtractive, so it goes down. You can change the choice so it goes over 2 octaves. The possibilities are endless. And you can actually then pick up, say, for example, if you want to capture it, you can literally put a MIDI channel in. So that was like on a Mac, Command, Shift, and T. And then you can actually record it in from, say, for example, was 28, instrument rack. And then set it from there, throw it off, and then record it into a new channel. So you're recording the MIDI rather than the audio. And then once you've got that laid out, you can decide what notes go where. And then, yeah, you've kind of arrived at a really interesting composition that you can do some pretty interesting stuff with. So I wanted it to get more interesting and a bit crazier as it goes along. And, you know, to be honest, it's definitely what's happened. And, you know, you can see we've got 2 more layers that we've not even talked about. And they all do the same thing, but just in different octaves. So basically operating octaves up. So C5, C4, A2. So again, there's like little variations going on there. And if I... This higher note is really, you know, starting to move here. And if I throw the automation in, you can start to see my handiwork here. And this is really where the track really starts to sing. And this is almost what I spend the most time on. Once I've got the track actually arranged, I love to do long passes of automation. In front of me here, I've got my trusty APC40 Mark II, absolute classic for Mackay. I've got a Complete Control S49 Type 2 keyboard, Mark II keyboard. I've got a Push 2, and you know, I'm a big user of these controllers to try and get human performance into the tracks. So if you're the type of person that sits there and just draws the automation in and does it in perfectly clean straight lines, and then you sat there wondering why your tracks are boring, then it's because, with all due respect to you, you're making music the way most people fill in their tax return. You've got to actually be a performer, a musician. You've got to put your humanity and your emotion and your soul into the music. So from here, being able to do that by even just turning one knob on, you know, a device control, whether it be a push, an APC, a MIDI controller keyboard, whatever it is, to bring that humanity. And even if you sit there with the mouse and just turn the filter control up and down, the filter frequency up and down, that is all you need. That is all you need. So it's lots of layers. So all three of these synth layers are talking to each other all the time. You know, there's peaks where the other one is coming down, and there's shared peaks at the, you know, the drop, for example. So where you get the intensity, you know. And yeah, you get that lovely long kind of decay going on, right? So ultimately, that's how you build the tension. You know, you've got that little randomization going on. You've got that that big lovely opening with the filters and the release of these synths. And then you've also got the sends and returns. So I'm going to go through them now because they're relevant to the sounds themselves. I'm a massive fan of Valhalla. Shimmer, wow. I love these like pitched hybrid reverb delay plugins. Valhalla is one. Crystallizer from Sound Toys is another. Other delays that I love, you'll see in a moment. But yeah, Valhalla Shimmer is the one. Absolutely beautiful, and gives this kind of like, again, this crystalline kind of like shimmer. It's almost like a drone in the background, but it's triggered by the pads themselves. So if we actually listen to that in isolation here. It almost sounds like an ambient version of the track. Don't tempt me to put this out as an ambient. I actually really like that. That's really cool. Love it. And like I said, I'm a big fan of the Valhalla plugins. I'm also a big fan of Eventide, like I mentioned as well. And this is another one. My God. The Black Hole. Sasha put me onto this one. Dave Gardner, Barry Jameson, the Centre Boys with Dennis. Honestly, can you believe it's 10 years in September that we started making Scene Delete together? I can't believe where that decade's gone. It's insane. But I've been using Black Hole ever since. Just absolutely love it. Paolo von Simpson, my favourite Scouser. You know it. You know it. Best stay that way as well. So yeah, basically the Black Hole, just one of these incredible like cavernous reverbs, which we can listen to here. In a more like high frequency mode, just to trigger the top ends. And again, this is just the sends. This is just Shimmer and the Black Hole. Okay, yeah, I'm absolutely going to do an ambient version. I mean, why not? Excuse me. Then the echo is just an echo. But echo in Ableton Live is one of my favourites. Probably one of my favourite delays alongside H delay from Waves. Unreal. You know, you pop that in with... and the basses. Just the movements it gives, right? We haven't even got to the breakdown yet with the sub bass. And hey, this is the one. And what I mean by that is this is like our, I would say now, notorious reverb, because I just have a way with the Ableton reverb. I always have to be able to get really, really nice sounds out of it. And honestly, like, this has been used on like so many tracks, and not even my tracks. Like, what I'm about to say is really funny. So, as a lot of people know, MYT is my artist development platform, and we're streaming live on the MYT YouTube channel, even though I'm doing Instagram live on my own Paul James Nolan account. And Twitch, we've now got a Twitch channel for Make Your Transition, if you're watching over there. But the interesting thing for me is that we've been like so involved in so many artists' careers, and one of the biggest successes we've had is with a young lad from Liverpool called Masano, who you may have heard of. And I was in Buenos Aires for the first time in November of 2023, and he played, and I was backstage with him. I was watching him play like a proud dad, and he calls me onto the stage by the decks, and he says, "Can you hear that?" And it's one of his tracks, like fading out into a drop, and I'm like, "No, go on." He's like, "That's the MYT accelerator reverb. I use it in every track." I'm like, "Oh shit, okay, fine." This is available for free on our website. Our website actually at the moment is offline due to planned scheduled maintenance, but it's going to be back up by tomorrow. So if you're watching this in the future, get over to transition.studio, www.transition.studio. There's a little button at the top there called free. You look for the MYT accelerator reverb, throw your email address in, and we'll send it to you. Basically, it's my, I wouldn't say patented, but it's my kind of like notorious reverb that a lot of people have used. So why not have it for free, right? Because it sounds great. So if I stack all of this and just listen only to the sends here. I mean, pretty cool. I've got a lot of reverb on this. I'm a big fan of Fab Filter. Pro R's another one. Just for the higher stuff. Really into that. And again, I've almost like reverb is like a specialist subject for me. It's one of my favourite things. And I choose reverbs the same way I choose instruments. You know, I go for darker reverbs like, you know, Valhalla, or lighter reverbs like Black Hole, or really kind of beautiful, like shiny reverbs like Pro R, you know, that can do that kind of stuff. So I'm always thinking even about reverbs and how the reverbs are going to sound and how they're going to work together in the mix and how they're going to back each other up and work with different instruments and how they're going to combine. You know, it's absolutely, you know, imperative that that's the case. So yeah, Pro R, another one. Again, another, oh yeah, Ultra Reverb. Ultra Reverb from good old Eventide. Well and truly into it. Yeah, fantastic. I've just realised you can't see the plugins on the screen in the old OBS. So just give me a moment. I'm going to try and fix that. Window capture. Display capture. Application capture. Give me a moment. Right. No. Okay, we're going to do a window capture. And sorry about that, guys. First time streaming on the gram, shall we say. Right, going to move that over there. And pop that over there. So you should be able to see everything now. If I pop over into here, it's going to keep an eye on that. So yeah, so basically, there you go. You'll be able to see everything now. Lovely. Sorry about that, guys. As I say, I'm working 2 streaming programs at once. So ultimately, here we are. Hey, there you go. There you go. Just seen it pop up on the screen. Lovely. So there are your reverbs for the track. Valhalla Shimmer, Eventide Black Hole, MYT, Accelerator Reverb, Ultra Reverb from Eventide. God, am I even using that? I am actually. Just not on that. Oh, there you go. Kind of a weird sort of glitchy thing going on. And another thing I love using is Portal. Portal from Output. God, I love this thing. This is one of my favourites. I'm a big fan of granular processing. I learned a lot about granular processing when I work with Junkie XL. And again, just a little gritty thing, just to add a bit of gnarliness to the top end. But you know, you can go a bit... In fact, I don't think I used this much, but... Or maybe the... Oh, here you go. That's what it was. There you go. I could do an entire hour just on that plugin, to be honest with you. And one of the big things that I learned from Junkie XL working with him is that he taught me that no sound should be left untouched. Like, everything should have like a little bit of a granular layer on top of it, just to kind of, you know, evolve its texture. So even standard sounds can be quite cool in that regard. So what we haven't looked at yet, just to find out, the pads. And again, to contact here on the pads. I can't remember what I used here, so this is going to be as much of a surprise as anyone else. Oh, of course I did. Oh, God. Slate and Ash, love it. That's your background drone that you hear in the intro. So if I was to just play that from the beginning. Cycles, one of the greatest contact libraries ever made. Simple as that. Again, this thing is insane. Such a fan of the Slate and Ash guys. Really innovative, really beautiful. Again, granular stuff going on there. Very, very nice. And then the pads themselves are fantastic. Company called Lunacy Audio, who make a beautiful plugin here called Cube. And again, really, really nice. You can actually, again, if I... move the cube around, you can have up to 4 different presets in each corner. And essentially have a nice hybrid pad. Second layer of cube here. Again, it's octaves up and going through progressions. Again, it's just the same preset over and over again, just with slightly different settings and slightly different. You can see this one's a 5th. So root note, a 5th, and then an octave. And then from there, lashings of reverb, as you can imagine. And then just a couple of classics just to finish off. And we'll look at how they drop. Hello, Umut Temeli. How you doing? Hello to Richard, who's also on the Instagram live. Again, like, I don't mind cliches. And the reason why things are cliche is because they work. And I'm not averse to trying to just, you know, do the classics. Just, you know. When I talk about classic, you mean silent, right? Just a spritz of white noise over the top. And then contact on the build. This is a bit of a weapon for me. Love it. Rise and hit. So I needed something that just make the whole thing sound like it was going to take off, like something out of a science fiction movie. There you go. And then the white noise takes over. And then alongside that, like I said, I have a penchant for the classics. And if you've heard the track, you know there's a bloody big snare roll in here and there's a 909 crash. It's like, hey, could you be any more on the nose, Paul, with your conventional build and drop tactics? Well, yet actually, no one's complained yet. So basically, the whole thing kind of comes together. So we'll listen to the drop here and the build. And before we do that, again, like what I wanted from the build and to get into it was I wanted a very sudden change. So I wanted a very cut almost into here's the build, and this is how I did it. So pre-build, pre-break, kick, filtered, and there's just a very abrupt change. And then the sub bass comes in. And if any of you know me, when it comes to sub bass, you'll know exactly what I'm going to use here. Monarch. Still one of the greatest bass synths ever made. Plug-in or hardware, fight me. It just underpins the whole thing with so much emotion, you know? And normally I'd be doing this in a track. It's like a big Reese style vibe. But I actually keep it pretty low, cut-off wise. Snare roll with a 16 swing on it. Put grooves on your snare rolls are so much better, and side chaining. Lift off. And there you go. So yeah. That, by and large, is how Ethereal Pulse was made, and then it all came down to me wanting to master it. So, my workflow is completely different normally. I like to mix and master in Logic Pro. So, if this was a regular track of mine, I would actually export stems, drop in Logic Pro, and I would carry on and do a mix from there and a master, because I'm a mixing and mastering engineer as well. I do a lot of mixing and mastering work for people. And that's how I work. They send me stems, I mix them in Logic, and I get great results. So this was a bit of an exception because, I don't know, maybe I was just feeling lazy that day, or I just wanted to see how I could get on with a mastered element within, a mastered production within a production session. Maybe I think I was testing my Mac Mini M2 Pro's capabilities of being able to hack it. And it did pretty well. So again, if you watch any of my other stuff, you'll know, big fan of virtual mix rack from Slate Digital. I love the tape machine. The tape machine's amazing. I use Brainworks for a lot of my mastering EQs and like monocompatibility stuff. This thing, God, where would we be without Soothe? Wonderful. Just takes all the heat out of everything, just cuts all the flab and all the crap that, is going to make it an unpleasant listening exercise. Bit of multi-band compression from FabFilter. My favourite endpoint kind of mastering compressor is SPL Iron. People love others. People love the Shadow Hills. They love all sorts of stuff. But yes, I love me some SPL Iron. I think it sounds great. And my mastering limiter is a Newfangled Audio Elevate, which I've been using for a long time. It's a 26-band multi-band limiter. that really, really does the trick and really lets me wring the final bits of loudness out of the track. And again, you saw me before, one of my most used plugins, Metric AB. A lot of the time, I might use it for mix references, or I put, say, for example, the pre-mix or the pre-master in Metric AB, and I swap between them when I'm mastering. I use this all the time. You'll see it on our feedback sessions we do once a month with our lovely partners at Magnetic Magazine, ADSR, and now Medtronica as well. Hello to Ryan. And basically, I use this for everything. I use it for referencing. I use it to give feedback. It just gives you incredible insight on loudness, stereo correlation or phase correlation, stereo imaging, as you saw before, dynamic range measurements, all kinds of stuff. And you can stuff it with all kinds. You can put 16 different reference tracks in. You can do mono, stereo, middle and sides, swapping, everything. It's one of the most versatile referencing plugins. Absolutely love it. And I use that as kind of like my loudness meter as well. And if you're interested, I'm always trying to hit that -8 LUFS. That is what I do as a mastering engineer. So that's a brief little run through of my mastering chain. And basically, this is what it would sound like without it. Weird, right? There you go. And, you know, I do things on drum groups and stuff as well. You know, I'm a big fan of... I'm not even using that there. You know, the virtual mix rack, of course. You know, I'm pumping it through an old Neve VR Legend desk, basically. And there's a number of different things that I do that I haven't done on here, but I do on a number of other tracks. But, hey, you'll have to tune in for something else. Or you might have to head over to MYT's website, over to transition.studio, and you have to look at our courses. I've got a whole bunch of courses, 20 plus, I believe, running everything from Ableton production, Logic production, a Ableton Push full course. I've got stuff on various different genres of music. We've got sound design courses, workflow courses, marketing courses. We've got everything you need, basically. And it's quite exciting because we're going to be launching something very, very new soon, which is basically a distillation of everything we've ever done in the last 5.5 years, and basically me over the last 15 years, pretty much, of working as a teacher. 15 years plus, I think it's more like 17, actually. And, you know, again, we're formulating stuff to help you hopefully break through as an artist if that's what you want. You know, that's what you want to do. That's what MYT is there for, to help people take their career and their music to the next level. It's one of my passions in life outside of the music itself. So yeah, amazing stuff. So yeah, there you go. So Ethereal Pulse, that was the original version of the track. Getting a lot of love. I'm really, really pleased with that. Thank you to Brent for the opportunity. Thanks to Probitech for putting the track out. Thanks to Hernan Mercurio again for the amazing work on the remix. Thanks to Beatport for all of the features. We were, you know, top of the best progressive house for May charts. You know, we've broken the top 10 on hype with the tracks gaining ground and gaining traction all the time. So couldn't be more grateful for that, guys, and thanks for the support. We'll be back soon. We'll be doing more stuff on Instagram. I'm going to try and figure out how to do multi-streaming to maybe even TikTok. But on the 29th, which I think is in, yes, it's 2 weeks yesterday, we're going to have a feedback session over on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, hello. Basically, if you haven't subscribed, please do. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, please do. At Paul James Nolan. At Make Your Transition. Make your transition. And, you know, basically let's get the follower numbers up and let's get helping people. We've got an amazing artist coming on, one of the family, Luca Abajan from Rosario in Argentina. Wonderful guy, incredible jiu-jitsu instructor, black belt, owns 4-step jiu-jitsu in Rosario, and also makes some mean tunes. Has recently done a remix for our label, Emergent Properties, and is soon to be featured on the Soundgarden, and is going to be giving feedback. Again, he also released on incredible labels like Mango Alley. So we're going to be giving feedback on people who submit their tracks. So like I say, MYT website is offline at the moment, but it's going to be back on by tomorrow. You can go to transition.studio/feedback and then put your tracks in using the form there. And then we'll select them, we'll listen to them, we'll give you feedback, and yeah, we'll have a good time doing it. So yeah, that will be it for me on this lovely special masterclass. It's been an absolute pleasure spending some time with you. Hope you have a lovely weekend, whatever it is that you're doing and wherever you are. Hopefully the weather is as good for you as it is for me here in Liverpool. And yeah, I'm going to have a nice, relaxing weekend. But I've still got to do a DJ mix because I'm doing a featured artist mix for Proton Radio. That'll be out on the 28th. I'll be doing that this weekend. A lot of studio work still to do, but it's a good thing. I know that I love what I do. Anyway, guys, much love. Take it easy. Look after yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you on a future stream. Nice one, guys. Take it easy. Much love.